You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene.
AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show.
Hey there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans. You know what time it is. You're here at AfterBuzz TV. We're talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Episode 17. Did I say S.H.I.E.L.D.?
You did.
What was that? I don't know what that was. But the episode is actually called Turn, Turn, Turn. I'm Matt Lieberman. Joining me as always, the fantastic panel. Megan Salinas is here.
Hey, guys.
Kristin Carole's
Hey,
here.
agents.
Joyce Ajouri is definitely here.
Hello, hello.
And before we get started, it's very nice. It's Joyce's birthday.
And your birthday,
And
Matt.
also my birthday.
Birthday twin.
Birthday
Yay.
twins
So
on the
we
show.
celebrated.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Who is that? That's not Marilyn Monroe.
It's me on a very late night with lots of caffeine.
Oh, nice. Roya Tahiri.
A personal serenade
RNG
from Roya.
Oh,
I was
thank
going
you.
to make
welcome.
a comment that it was your
You have a
alter
wonderful
ego.
voice.
Thank you.
So, Kristin and Megan got us both some lovely gifts.
Really cool stuff.
We have these realistic smartphone-looking
Hey.
sound
That's a
effects
direct line to
devices.
Fury, you guys.
Every
well,
agent
Not
yours.
anymore.
needs a direct line.
It's a smart cell phone featuring Amazing Spider-Man quotes,
And Avengers.
yours
quotes.
is Avengers, and then we have two little
Lenticular screen.
Don't knock the lenticular screen.
and you got your own little set of icers right here.
Oh yeah, mine's still in the bag.
Oh, that's
but,
what they are.
And we got cool holographic. Well, like I guess
Sweet,
not,
sweet,
but
sparkly,
Marvel stickers
sweet,
that I
sparkly
cannot
Marvel
wait
stickers
to use.
Oh my God, I can't remember the last time I had stickers. So this is gonna
Shiny
be,
stickers,
These are
not
so
just
cool.
any stickers. They're shiny.
They're
That's
very
true.
shiny.
I just have to decide, like, where are you going to put them?
Thanks, you guys.
I'm gonna think about it, and I'm gonna put them on something great.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. Don't take a nap around these two, otherwise you might end up with stickers all over your face.
Oh, did you wind up with stickers all over your face?
No, but I definitely had a cousin who tried to
Okay.
Sharpie my face one
Well,
time.
Let's hope that
Don't
there's
fall
no
asleep.
tomfoolery. Folks, a movie came out this past weekend.
Yes.
Captain America the Winter Soldier.
Wait, what? I
Kristin,
totally
did you
missed on something.
Did you not see Captain
You
America?
do not
you
belong
totally
here.
You totally saw Captain
I
America. the
totally
Winter
got
Soldier.
tickets early
I
and went on
take
Friday.
your notepad,
yeah.
I take your mug, and I cast you out.
Right. So, I thought the movie was amazing.
It was so good.
I think we all do.
Fantastic.
We all loved it. We are going to be talking about it more in depth towards the end of the show, just because for folks who just come here looking for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. commentary, let's dial that up first, and then we'll talk all about the movie. But
Can we go ahead and say spoilers for Captain America?
yeah,
Spoiler alert.
listen.
Spoiler alert.
If you haven't seen Captain America the Winter Soldier, you will be spoiled by this. We are going to be talking about it. It deeply affected the Marvel Universe as it is going forward, so it's unavoidable. So if you don't want to listen to anything about it, you still want to go see it,
Well,
come back,
I feel like
we'll be waiting for
and
you.
the episode kind of spoiled
The
half
episode
of
very
the
much
movie
spoiled it.
anyways.
Right, but if you want like the rest of the details,
Yeah.
because we'll be talking about those. Anyway,
You mean when...
Exactly when that happened, yeah.
oh man, I just pushed the button and something happened with this Amazing Spider-Man thing. Okay. I'm putting the toys away because nothing will get done. All right, so
Oh, mine works.
in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, when we last left off on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the plane was redirecting and something was happening at the hub. We found out what that was in Captain America: The Winter Soldier when it was revealed that Hydra had been secretly dormant within S.H.I.E.L.D. for, decades.
7 decades.
7 decades, a crazy long amount of time, and they had finally reached the level in their master plan where they could come out and come out into the light. So there's this uprising. ABC has been billing like the last 5 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Uprising. We finally understand why. So we drop in right as this uprising is happening, as Agent Garrett, played by Bill Paxton, is in his fancy fighter jet on the way to the Triskelion. That's where the bus was going as well before it got rerouted. And so all of a sudden, these S.H.I.E.L.D. drones start firing on him, and he nearly dies. Thankfully, the folks on the bus are able to shoot them down. Phil Coulson shoots down these drones.
That remind anybody else of Star Wars, or was it just me?
Oh,
That whole
totally.
It was
scene,
very
I was
Star
just like,
Wars.
that was very Han Solo of Coulson right now.
Good job. Don't get cocky, kid.
This was an episode with a broad canvas. It was a big budget episode. We got a lot of great fights. We
Tons of
got
good fights.
some great effects. It was a very, very solid installment. So the situation that Garrett is dropping into, however, is already tense because at the end of the last episode, May's secret phone line, her encrypted line, was found by Fitz. Everyone thinks that she's, some kind of traitor. And now that we know that, they don't know that it's Hydra yet, but they know that something's wrong. So Coulson refuses to believe anything that she's saying. He forces her to reveal what I said, and I think a few of us said last week, that her hard line was directly to Nick Fury.
Which I'm glad.
Yes.
I was a little
Yeah.
nervous it was to hand, because you never...
Yeah, I'll admit I thought it was the Hand or the Clairvoyant or something.
Yeah, I'm really glad. I know that we were kind of on the fence, like maybe it's Fury, maybe it's Hand, maybe it's somebody else, within Hydra that we haven't met yet. But it is nice to know that we're like, okay, May's not the
Yeah.
traitor. She was reporting directly to Fury.
And we kind of felt that way in the last episode when we knew that we felt she seemed really sincere when she was trying to explain to Coulson, like, I promise, like, I'm not doing anything, that's intentionally going to hurt you.
Right. And then in this episode, we see that continue
Yeah.
as she gives some kind of major reveals
Yeah.
about her history in coming up with the team and her feelings for Coulson,
Oh my
perhaps.
goodness.
Felinda, yeah.
Felinda fans were probably through the roof as she says, I did it because you're very important to me. And we're like, ah! Just say it. Don't be a pansy.
That entire scene was so great because not only do you find out, that she lets down some of her walls to really, say how much she does care about Coulson, but you find out that from the beginning, this is her team. This was her master plan.
knowing her now, though, it makes sense.
It makes
Yeah.
perfect
you
sense.
don't question it. You're like, oh yeah, she was definitely pulling the strings on all of this.
I can only imagine, though, how Coulson feels, because this whole time, I mean, he was the leader, but this whole time he thought that this was something that, he had formed and created, and he seemed so defeated, I guess, at that moment.
Yeah, probably at this point he feels like they've just been watching him dance this whole time.
Yeah.
He's pretty betrayed. And frankly, the most insulting thing, not just that these choices were outside of his jurisdiction or that he didn't have any power in these decisions, but that the roles, the type of people that are supposed to be on this strike force, on this team of his, were based around the needs of, if he goes crazy, if he goes AWOL, if something happens, this is how we'll take him down.
And how terrible for Coulson to realize that if anything like that happened to him, if he did go AWOL or crazy or, he starts showing symptoms, that it's not his fault. It's, whoever put him back together and, didn't tell him what they did.
And May didn't tell him that he knew, or that she knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all this time he's been on a he's been on a hunt for the truth, and she's known the entire time, and it's just sort of let
like
him
the
scramble
ultimate
about
betrayal.
from place to place. Yeah.
It's incredibly insulting. And it honestly, it's caused a massive fissure in their friendship. I don't know that it can ever be repaired. It's a deep betrayal. As he says later in the episode, you're an ally, but you are not a friend.
Yeah.
Not
and
anymore.
That totally goes along with the whole theme of this episode and also Captain America, not to trust anyone. And unfortunately, he's learned not to trust someone that he held so closely.
He's gonna end up trusting her again.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's
But
inevitable.
it's going to take some time, though.
Yeah.
I think something big is gonna happen. Hopefully,
Something's
if they
big.
get picked up for season 2.
Fingers crossed.
Please,
Fingers crossed.
please, please.
How is this show still not renewed for a second
You know what?
season?
ABC, though, hasn't really released any of them because, like, Once Upon a Time gets huge ratings, and they haven't made an official confirmation yet for that, I don't believe, either. So I think maybe they're just holding off. Like, oh, I'm not sure.
Well,
hope so.
I think it's important for the fans to tweet, especially this week, about the show if you're fans, because here's the thing. Disney, ABC, they are watching social media very carefully
Yes,
this
they
week
are.
because nothing like this has ever been attempted. You know, the crossover episode that we had for Thor: The Dark World was nowhere near as intimately connected as this one.
Which is unfortunate because I feel like they should have. You
Like,
know,
they should have made it
especially,
more-
yeah, I mean, I guess they're probably waiting for this one because they did come out, you know, during the same season. But I wish they would have gone into it a little bit more.
Well, I think there's two things.
Well, seeing what they did with this, it was
Right.
cool. So it would
Yeah.
have been cool to have
To
that
have
as well.
more of a connection. I think it's just, it's easier just because they're members of S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.H.I.E.L.D. is so integral
Yeah.
to what Captain America's doing. But then also you have to think about when was Captain America the Winter Soldier being developed and when was it being shot? And it was, Thor: The Dark World was already in front of cameras by the time that this show was picked up. So Captain America the Winter Soldier, they had a much better idea of what was coming down the pike, and they were able to
Probably more
plan
time.
for it better. And I think that really helped with the integration. Also, being the second one versus the first one, you learn a lot of lessons.
And if we do get renewed for a second season, excuse me, but yeah, if we do get picked up for a second season, then that gives them more time for all the future movies that are coming out.
Which will be good, you know,
Yeah.
if you see like Ant-Man or Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be this summer, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
I
how
don't
much
know if
that'll
they'll
connect
do-
because it'll be too big of a break until
I mean,
the
Right.
next season. But
Yeah.
well, that
That's
and
more in
Guardians of the
space.
Galaxy is in space,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, Guardians-
it's not
But
taking place on
still.
Earth.
but
so.
it
We-
still somehow is going to end up.
Right.
It,
I
it
wouldn't be
messes
surprised
with
if-
that world.
I wouldn't be surprised if they could
Yeah.
link the two.
I would say there's two things. One, it's a space movie, and it's more likely than not, it's setting up the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe, and it's setting up Avengers 3 when Thanos eventually comes to town. It's setting up the Infinity Gauntlet, probably. I can't say that for sure. But I would not be surprised if our mid or end credits sequence involved one of our alien peacekeepers. Like I can't remember the exact name of them right now. If someone knows it, tweet it. But they're the people who you look in the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. They're doing a usual suspects lineup
Yeah.
in basically a police department.
Yeah.
I imagine that they liaise with someone on Earth before the end of that movie. In any case, this was a nice crossover. We got to get back into that stuff. We'll talk more in macro later in the show.
Yes.
So we're on the bus. Tense. We're trying to get communications back up online. We're basically racing the clock. We're forced to go to the hub. We got to figure out how we're going to escape the bus before we all get shot. And they have this encrypted message that's being sent out across all the S.H.I.E.L.D. frequencies. And it is, we're out of the shadows and into the light. And I thought it was going to be Hail Hydra, but then it was just Hydra.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
It's still pretty
Still
funny though that
explanatory.
like it's just like Hydra. Okay, well
Yeah.
they're here.
It's like a signature. It's like we're come out of the shadows and into the light.
Sincerely,
So blunt.
Sincerely.
fondest wishes, Hydra.
Just
It's their
Hydra.
coming out party.
Yeah.
Have a parade. And
Oh man! Now I'm thinking about the movie Wild Wild West, and that would take up this whole conversation. So we're not going to do that because the villain has a coming out party in that movie. It's a great movie. It's the best bad movie of all time. It's so good. Okay. I'm going to talk about iTunes really quickly before we get into the hub stuff. We're going to talk about Simmons and Tripp. We're going to talk about Garrett's betrayal. We're going to talk about Skyward or Sky won't word. We won't know. But I've made a promise
sleeping
last
with
week.
the enemy.
I know.
Well, not yet. Give it time.
I made a promise last week that I would read all of the reviews because I couldn't pull them up on my phone. My phone had died. I'd read all the reviews that we've had since March 11th. So please bear with me. It's my birthday. Don't skip ahead. And it's
Somebody
also
wrote
Joyce's
that they
birthday.
skipped ahead on YouTube.
Oh my God, Dick! I'm gonna find you,
It's
and we're
his
gonna have a
birthday.
chat.
Listen to him
Today
on
is
his
not
birthday.
the day
ma'am.
to skip
Okay.
over Matt.
Let me do this quickly. Reflex123, 5 stars, keeping me intrigued. I will fully admit at times I've had a hard time with the pacing of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but that's where AfterBuzz helps me out with a lot of shows. By discussing what happens, tying it into previous plot points, coming up with possibilities, it helps me stay excited about things. Make Mine Marvel and AfterBuzz from Chupacabra's X. If you don't listen to this podcast, you don't like this show. A fan cast for fans. Sweet. Prodigious writes, you are the best. Love it. You are the funniest, most informative, and balanced Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. Your insights are the best, and what you do is most appreciated. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Rogers Lax 24. What's up, Rogers Lax 24? I am a newbie to the Marvel Universe, and this podcast helps fill me in on the background I am lacking. I loved Megan and Matt on Sherlock, and here they are just as good. The other hosts are great as well. I'm just keep up the good work, and I don't like Gemma with anyone on the show yet. I
You know what?
understand.
I'm right there with you.
She deserves someone truly special.
Yeah.
And hey, we all thought Trip was going to be a bad guy in this one, and it's so great to know
He
that he's
proved
not.
us wrong.
I know.
So far, he's leading.
So
the way.
far.
I know, so far. Weird Cluster says, good stuff. The AfterBuzz shows for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hannibal are great companion shows. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Seagrog, which sounds so close to Sea Greg, and it makes me wonder. Great show. Love the show. Nice to have fans to share the show with. Jay Brizzle 92 says, awesome, great podcast. Rob Brown 226, great podcast. I listen to this podcast the next day the show runs. It's funny and excitement helps me catch the subtle things that I miss. You all do a great job and keep me plugged into the show. I appreciate your hard work. GFGD, JHG,
That's a
He knows who you are.
it's a gibberish name. I'm not being insulting. Someone actually wrote a gibberish name. This is the third AfterBuzz TV show I have watched. They're all great, but this one is the best because of all of you. Oh, no, it's the best because of you. Baron F5X, awesome. Love the show, love the podcast. You're all being on home every week. You catch the things I miss, and the podcast feels like geeking out with my friends. You are awesome. Keep it up. Female Characters by Poet to Rule. I got thinking in the discussion of this week's episode about the female characters. In the discussion, it got mentioned that the women are all strong, well-rounded characters rather than female character types. Well, this is a Joss Whedon show, so of course they are.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, well, granted, he doesn't actually write on the show, but, you know, you're right.
It's the company. It's the family.
Yeah,
It's in the
it's all in
family.
the family.
Same ideology.
But it's important to point out that this show keeps up that tradition.
Yeah.
You know, it could very well could not have been. Good show, great people. Matt, Megan, Kristin, and Joyce are a great combo, giving respect to this good show. They enhance and embrace this stuff. Keep up the good work. Really fun show. Always look for Matt by Mifune Brando. What up, Mifune Brando? It's a Lieberfan. Hashtag Lieberfans. Oh, God. Kill me. Matt is awesome. I listen to him on this and the Doctor Who AfterBuzz podcast.
Wait,
He's
is that a
always so witty
hashtag
and fun.
Lieberfan? Sorry.
It is. I kind of invented it on a podcast, and I feel really embarrassed about it because no one should come up with the name of their own fan base because that's really, really
probably true.
douchey. But some people liked it, and they started using it. So if you like it and you want to use it, you should go ahead and use it. He always
It's
makes
your
it.
birthday.
He has an amazing dynamic with Kristin and has great co-hosts and is insightful. And they're all insightful and full of knowledge. That is a review. Damn it, now I'm blushing. Okay. Great podcast by Wild Womanak. Okay. Love the show, love the podcast. Short and sweet. Mr. Anthrope. Mr. Anthrope, like Misanthrope. A candid review. As with all AfterBuzz shows, a built-in positive of the podcast is its immediacy. A built-in negative is that it tends to be overly apologetic due to its goal to cover so
I'm
many
sorry.
shows and guests. Yeah. We're sorry. We're so apologetic.
sorry.
It's it's true. We only have a limited amount of time to discuss these shows, and we want to do our very, very finest in order to bring you the finest possible
I
content.
take back my sorry.
So
sorry.
we apologize for apologizing too much. It's a fair criticism. It's 403 says this podcast, only Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast worth listening to. I love that. They cover
awesome.
episodes thoroughly but to the point and have hilarious commentary as well as nice discussions about what could happen. They also taught me what Sculpey was. Marvelous show.
Learning new things.
Marvelous show by James Chesney. I'm so glad I found you guys, hearing other Marvel fans and their theories. He asked, what huge twists do we think could be in store? We'll get into that in predictions. Rogue 9A, awesome show. I'm sorry, you guys, we're running low on time, so I gotta blast through the rest of them. Pharmacy Guy, I love listening to you guys. The AfterBuzz crew rocks. Star-Lord says, after S.H.I.E.L.D. buzz. This is from 3 days ago. After watching the newest Captain America, I wonder how this series can continue. I not only have full faith in Marvel to continue this show, but I also have complete faith in AfterBuzz to continue their after-show entertainment.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your faith, and we are going to get to that later in the show.
These are so cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so please keep the feedback coming, keep the reviews coming. It's what keeps the doors open, the lights on here at AfterBuzz, and it lets us know that you're liking what we're doing. So thank you for your support. Okay, so at the hub, meanwhile, we've got another uprising, crazy, and Simmons is trapped in the lab alone
With Trip.
with Trip. Triplet.
He fooled us, definitely. I was convinced that he was going to turn against
I
Simmons,
know.
that he was part of Hydra.
Well, it was during that hollow box conversation.
Yeah.
He offers to bring this hollow box to her so that she can get some help with her research with the drug, and we're all nervous because he keeps asking about it. And of course, Hydra would want their hands on this miracle drug that can heal people, bring them back to life, and well. She's talking to the holobox with her former professor, who is freaking out because there's a siege at the S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy. Meanwhile, Trip just wanders
Agent
off.
Weaver.
Sorry?
Agent Weaver?
She
Okay.
was
The
the
Academy.
professor
Okay,
that I was
yes.
talking to.
And Trip, kind of saunters off into the background and locks the door. And we're all like, oh, crap.
I
Because the
know.
last guy she flirted with turned out to be Deathlock, so
That's true.
she
Yeah, we're
doesn't
like,
have a good history.
way to pick him. Way to pick him, Simmons.
So first you're like, oh, that's cute, she's flirting, and then it's like, oh.
Yeah.
The part that made me think that Trip was for sure part of Hydra was when he asked her, how come if you had the means of saving Blake when he was getting pulverized, then you're in big trouble because you could have saved him and everyone else. And that's when I was like, oh crap, now he's gonna try to, I don't know, take it or something.
Yeah, no, that was like that whole scene was kind of a nail
Yeah.
biter for everybody. But the scene that had me was when they were talking, and that's the whole scene is them talking. But when
when they
he brings up specifically that, well, darn it, now I lost
The
it.
what?
I lost it while you were talking.
Sorry.
But
I mean,
it'll come back to
sorry.
me
Okay.
later.
Well, in any
I'm
case,
trying to stall. It's gone.
she immediately suspects him. He pulls out a knife, and we're like, oh, snap, this is about to get real. And then he hands her the knife. And he's like, here's a weapon. Now we can trust each other.
and poor Simmons is like freaking out. You could see the look on her face.
Yeah.
Big
I remember what I
eyes.
was gonna say now.
You remembered it, so bring it up.
What I really liked was when he said, when he was pointing out all the stuff that they're really secretive about as a team, and throughout this entire series, we always like how Coulson has always kind of been a little bit of a rogue with S.H.I.E.L.D. And it never once occurred to me while watching, it's just like, yeah, go Coulson, that from an outsider's perspective, he would look like somebody who couldn't be trusted.
He would look
because of all that
incredibly
stuff.
That's very
fishy.
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
So it
I
was
would never have realized
it
that.
was when he was bringing up stuff like that, and then when Hand was talking to Simmons too, like that kind of, it was just a great way of like shifting the perspective where you really don't know who are your friends, who are your enemies in this situation.
Well, it's a long time coming. I remember early in the season when they first met Hand and they were having this friction, and he and Blake were having friction, where it was that, Coulson was going to go off on his own halfway through the season and bring the team with him, and they would distance themselves from S.H.I.E.L.D. I never imagined that it would be S.H.I.E.L.D. itself that's imploding on itself.
Yeah.
But it still ultimately has the same effect. His actions look highly suspicious, incredibly guilty to outside parties, and now everybody thinks that he's a traitor, and they're coming after him and his team. They don't want them dead. They want to know, what they know.
Did they tie the ends of, how do I say this? When Hand was basically telling Simmons that, Coulson, you should be suspicious of Coulson, did towards the end of the episode, did she still think that he was suspicious? Simmons?
No.
I think towards the end. Oh, you mean Simmons looking at Coulson?
Yeah, I mean, she was
the one thing that she was asked, has Coulson never kept a secret from you?
Okay,
is
yeah,
what you're
that's
bringing
when
up?
it ended for her, like in
Right.
terms of realizing what Coulson was doing.
Right. I'm pretty sure that everyone is on the same page that Coulson is not a Hydra agent, but it does register, I think, in Gemma's mind that he hasn't always been the most honest guy, and that maybe she shouldn't trust him as much as she does. It's definitely going to lodge itself in her head and spin her off in a new direction.
So maybe he's not a friend, but an ally as well.
Aw.
Maybe.
Simmons now.
There's look, everyone's tensions are running high. Everyone's trust is going to be frayed. I hope that they're able to repair it by the end of the season, but it's really hard to trust each other right now.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen some major betrayals, none bigger than that of John Garrett.
Yeah.
Let's get into that. So,
That's kind of awesome.
It's
I'm just gonna. I mean, I'm not like pro Hydra or anything like that, but just like it's Bill Paxton. He's a bad guy.
yeah,
That is
He went out
awesome.
strong. He went out strong.
he's a great bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we even do that, when the bus lands at the hub, so in the movie, both Fury and Maria Hill use these like magic doors in the bottoms of vehicles. They cut holes in the bottoms of vehicles and run away. And we learn what that is, and that it was developed by Fitz. They're called mouse holes, and he developed it as a portable way to cut yourself out of any environment.
That was cool to learn the name of it, and then that somebody that we're attached to is the one that actually
It's
invented
like,
it.
hey Fury, you remember that time that Fitz saved your life? Yeah, this is that
Inadvertently.
time.
Well, the next time that we get a Fury cameo, you should bring that up. I think that
Just
would
say
be a
you're
lot of fun.
welcome, sir.
Yeah.
You're welcome. No
Or
big.
I would just like to see Fitzy receiving that handshake and just being terrified.
Yeah.
Like, you saved my life. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Crying
you,
a
sir.
little bit,
Thank you,
tears
sir.
coming down his face.
Well, I wonder if they do a cameo. Based off of how they. Never mind.
And well, it would. Look, it
It's
wouldn't
really
be
hard not
for
to
a
talk about
while, probably.
It's very hard to not relay back to Captain America. With
we
certain
can.
things.
We gave the spoiler warning. You can do
Okay.
it. Yeah.
I think it's just hard now because he's quote unquote dead to
Right.
most people. Because Coulson doesn't even know. So I feel on the one hand they need a cameo to kind of let him know eventually. But if they do, how do they go?
Well,
about
it's a
that?
great opportunity for an episode because, they're in the middle of nowhere and they're following some mysterious signal, and then, they bump into this homeless man who happens to be Nick effing Fury.
That would be awesome.
And
Wouldn't
they
it be
join him
great
on
an
his
entire
quest.
episode with Nick Fury?
That would be
so
I would
fantastic.
love that.
Yeah, I'm
Do you-
sure everyone would.
Do you guys think that, we're going from, Marvel movie connecting to the TV show. Do you think we'll ever have an event in the TV show that reverberates into the movies?
I would love to see Coulson show up in the next Avengers movie or in the next
See, that
which-
would work because he was in the previous one.
and just to have all of them go, "You're alive!" Like, we were worried sick. We were so mad.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say.
I just want Coulson to hug Captain America at some point.
Steve, I'm okay.
For any connection to work the other way, they would have to explain it all organically in the movie. Everyone who goes to Marvel movies has seen all the Marvel movies. Everyone who has watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, has seen at least some of the Marvel movies. But there are far too many people who watch the Marvel movies who don't watch the show.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
so it
say
needs
in
to be
terms
more
of
popular.
audience.
I
Right.
think
Yeah.
if they did something like that, they'd have to kind of just shrug it off as just, oh, it's a long story.
Right.
That's one
Okay,
of those things.
so-
But we love it. That'd
So
be great.
when we get to the hub, everyone kind of splits up, and we've got Skye and Ward together, and we've got Garrett and Coulson and Fitz together, and Skye and Ward, they're hiding in this office or this closet, and Ward takes this opportunity, because we might die tomorrow, be like, hey girl, hey boo.
He is
Let me,
so selfish with his love.
Let me lay some Mac down on you. I would like to take you up on that drink. It was a mistake not to do it before. And then she totally calls him on it and is like, oh, like you did with May. And we're like, sick burn. We're like, this is great. He deserves it. Shame on you.
Yeah.
You should be more apologetic. He's like, no, this isn't about sex. This is about talking. and Skye totally
That's
falls
what
for
they
it and
all
kisses
say,
him.
Skye.
Because she's cared about him this whole time.
To be fair, guys, they thought they might. There was a good chance
Right.
that they weren't going to make it out.
Right.
So if they had died, she'd probably be like, "Oh, I should have kissed him. I know he was lying, but I should have kissed
But
him."
now
know.
she's gonna be like, I shouldn't have kissed him.
I was gonna say it's very like Grease 2, where it's like, let's do it for our country.
Oh,
Why do
God.
you know Grease too?
Why doesn't she know Grease? Why don't you know
Exactly.
Grease too?
I've
I
never met
don't- I
anybody who
don't know
actively
Grease too.
quotes
There is a
Grease
small,
2 except for
there's a
Kristen.
small and vocal population that believes that Grease 2 is better than Grease 1. I'm not among them, but I
I'm
know
not-
I
I'm
know
not
at
among
least
that
I know
either.
at least 2 of them, and they are rabid for Grease 2. Okay, but let's talk about Skyward here. Okay, yeah, she's wanted him from the start. She's been curious. You know, he says, "Oh, I'm boring," then goes outside and totally wastes 10 guys.
What a
So boring.
false modesty.
So boring.
Right? And she gives him a look that would melt a glacier. And, you know, we have the highest of hopes for these two, but not anymore now that it appears that he's a traitor. We'll get into that in a bit.
Because he did say at one point, when he's like, you know, maybe I should, you know, she's like, don't go because you might die. And he's like, you know, maybe I deserve to. So it was like, at that moment, I was like, oh, he's probably Hydra. He's totally Hydra. And then they kissed him like,
Because
oh, yeah.
he's being so
Yeah.
overly dramatic, which is so
yeah, and he
out
he
of his
went-
character to begin with.
Exactly. And he kind of like paused, like, maybe I deserve to. And then was like, because I killed an innocent
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
exactly
like I'm
it.
Hydra, I'm gonna
Well,
kill more people.
here's the thing, right? He's incredibly vulnerable for what is maybe the first time in the series. He's very vulnerable, and I think it's because he's realized that he's conflicted. He was supposed to be a Hydra agent. That's, you know, he was probably brought in by Garrett years ago when he was in his SO. And now that they're finally pulling the ripcord and trying to take over S.H.I.E.L.D., he has people here. He has a family. You know, this team, they trust him and he trusts them. He loves them. And I think that ultimately he has changed his mind and that he had to kill Agent Hand in order to preserve his cover as a Hydra agent so that he can further infiltrate
Yeah, that's
their
the move he had to make.
organization. You have to.
And he's a prime person to do that because knowing, you know, what he went through with his brothers. And yeah, I'm sure he followed Garrett because one, he's like, cool. And two, he was a lost little boy,
Yeah.
you know, looking for somebody to look up to. And, you know, they probably promised dreams of like, you know, well, we're going to get rid of all the enemies beforehand, you know, sort of a thing. And he probably fell into that and
Well,
believed
and
him.
it might not have started that way either, because Garrett himself said that, you know, he felt the winds changing and he just decided to change his sails. I think that's one of the reasons why we see Trip at the end not being one of the people carted away.
So obviously Ward was the favorite.
Well, there's that too.
So there's that, but I think what you're saying, Megan, is that Garrett changed sides after he and Ward served together.
It's possible, but it's also possible that Ward, you know, joined up before Garrett switched sides, and that, you know, all that sort of idealism and that, you know, the little boy looking up to his
Right.
SO, that bond was solidified before Garrett tried to change his sails, and we don't know at what point that was.
But then why wouldn't Trip be Hydra?
Because he's the new guy.
or because
Yeah,
it's-
probably.
well, we don't know how new he is,
Yeah.
first of all, but it also could be, as you said, Ward is an easy target. He's somebody who had a troubled past, who doesn't question orders, but does have a very firm idea of how the world should be and what's fair. He's someone that they could target very easily, versus Triplet has a bit more personality. He's less of a cog. He's less of a drone. He thinks for himself, and I have to imagine he's very idealistic working for S.H.I.E.L.D. He does it for different reasons than Ward does, and maybe Garrett thought there's no way if I tell him about this that he'll be on board.
Well, and
Yeah.
just he's very self-confident too.
Well-
he knows who he is. I mean, you just see that in the difference of how they interact with the girls that they like. I mean, how he was how Ward was with Skye at the beginning, and even how he is kind of now, where it was kind of standoffish. And you know, Triplet was hitting on Simmons as soon as he saw her. You know, it's just
Exactly.
how he
Well,
carries himself.
that and, talking about, the members of Garrett's team who have mysteriously ended up dead because of the clairvoyant, it's like, knowing this now, it's like he was killing his own team members in order to keep this secret. So he's probably waiting around to, what he does now that he's changed side is wait around, see if somebody he thinks can be let in on the secret, let them in on it, see how they react. And if they're like, oh my gosh, Hydra, he's like, oh, okay, they gotta go.
Let me ask you guys about the flower dress moment. The moment where he reveals himself to be Hydra inadvertently. Do you buy that Garrett would be that careless?
Maybe a little bit, because I feel like people start to get maybe full of themselves, like thinking he's above everything, and that's when you make your mistake, is when you think that you've won. And
Because the other clairvoyant is dead? Or...
And he's making an emotional appeal to Coulson. So he thinks that by appealing to Coulson's emotions, that he does have the upper hand, and all he has to do is sell it. That sort of thing.
It's probably hard to keep all of it straight, to be perfectly honest.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
It's a lot of information.
It's a lot of lies.
Yeah, I think he is capable of just flipping up like that. I mean, he had that, what's the word, hubris, where he just kind of got, and he got complacent in his hubris and everything, and he just let it out.
Yeah.
Unintentional. I think that's totally something he would do.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm sure that there's a fan or two somewhere who didn't feel that way. I personally think with all the stress of Hydra actually coming out of the open without notifying him, by the way, because he's got these S.H.I.E.L.D. drones coming after him, which, do you think that they knew that he was Hydra or what?
I'm starting to think that, yeah.
Because that makes sense.
It would make the most sense. Yeah.
They're coming after him. He calls Coulson and says, it's not safe. I have to be with you. And, hide in plain sight, basically. He knows he has an ally in Coulson. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I like that theory.
That does.
So Victoria Hand is the good gal. Garrett was the clairvoyant this whole time. The fridge is brought up a bunch this episode, which leads me to believe, and I wonder if you guys agree, that some of our old foes that we saw at the top of the season are going to be coming back.
Yeah.
They're prepping us, because now that we don't have a main threat because the clairvoyant's gone, we need something. We need something dangerous, and we know that Garrett and Ward were on their way to the fridge.
Yeah, and with the infrastructure of S.H.I.E.L.D., what is arguably the world's best defense against these sort of things, minus the Avengers, with the infrastructure in tatters and pieces, if these things come out of the fridge, there's very little in the way to stop them at this point.
It's true. I want to talk about Fitzy real quick. Because it's a very quick moment, but he takes a life in this episode.
He does. He shoots someone. That was totally a surprise to
May.
me.
To save May's life.
Considering she was gonna
Shoot him in the head.
Shoot him in the head earlier.
with an icy, but
Icer.
icer.
She was going to
imagine?
shoot
I
him with
love
a cherry
Irene and
coke
Icy.
I was combining night
Night, and Icer.
Okay. But he shoots someone, and I have to imagine that with a guy like Fitz, this is a huge moment for him. I don't think he's killed anyone before. And I think that we're going to see this play out over this last run of episodes. The guy's got to be harboring some serious guilt.
Well,
can we applaud Ian for his
Yeah.
act? First of all,
Oh
like
my
him
God, the
tearing
single
up,
tear?
Yeah.
Single tear, I was like, bro.
That
look
was
at
really
you.
well
great.
done.
You brought it this episode, yeah.
No, and just what he said too. He said something along the lines of, "You're going to suffer for what you've done, and I'm going to be a big part of making that happen." And since everybody is still, and since Garrett's still alive at this point, and Fitz is still alive at this point, I think he's going to make good on that threat.
I agree,
That's
and
an
I think
interesting
he's going to
thought.
be fueled by his guilt. It's going to totally come into play and develop his character in the coming episodes.
Cool.
I can't wait. He's going to be
And
so.
Fitz is going to have to step it up. If Ward really is with Hydra now, he's going to have to
Fitz
step
is
it
going to
up.
be the alpha male
I
on
would
the
love
team.
to see that. Okay, what else do we got? Does anyone have any key moments that we want to talk about before we get into more general universe talk and speculation?
Did we decide whether, I don't know if any other viewers also were a little confused, but we were like, did May get de-handcuffed?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they get ready to shoot.
Oh, yeah.
They get ready to shoot Coulson, Fitz, and May, and they take May's handcuffs off
Yeah.
to shoot her, which is the dumbest bad guy move I've ever seen.
Because we were all sitting there like, Wait a minute.
when
They
did-
do
when did the
that?
handcuffs
Did that actually come off? Like, what was going on there?
For a
Confusing.
solid second, I thought it was going to be something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it's like, you could have gotten out of those cuffs at any time. No, not at any time.
Only when it was funny. Only when it was funny. But and May couldn't have gotten out of those cuffs at any time. Only when it was really badass. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, never mind. Finish your
No, I
thought.
was just saying. I'm pretty sure that they let her out of the cuffs, which either they don't know who she is, or they're just big dummies. But it was their undoing.
Do you get some sort of ego trip when you join Hydra? Like, you think that if you unhandcuff Melinda May, that you're gonna walk out of that room unscathed?
I mean, anybody who
They just think because she's a woman.
I mean, everybody has an ego trip if you're trying to take over the world.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
You have to have
Fair
that.
You have to have a
You
big
have
head
to.
for that.
All right.
My question is real quick: if Ward is going to stay along the path of Hydra, what's in it for him? That's my question.
Well, if he is a Hydra agent and he is not working both sides, their big coup didn't work, but they still have, and this is when we're getting deep into movie talk, they still have Loki's staff from the Avengers, which we
True.
saw in the mid-credit sequence of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. They still have resources all around the world. They've captured 2 of the S.H.I.E.L.D. bases. So,
Well, and they had, Quicksilver and
right, they've quit.
And the Scarlet Witch, yeah.
Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and now they have information about the cure. Potentially, they may have grabbed one of the blood samples that Simmons brought to the hub.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who's a member of Hydra, they're a true believer. They're going to be focused on the cause to the end. So
Totally drank the Kool-Aid.
Well,
It's,
and
you
I
know.
still have to wonder, we still don't know what Skye is. She's an 084. And I was wondering if maybe the other reason Ward's not so protective over her is they were saying earlier that people had died for her to live. Maybe Hydra kind of knows what she is. I don't know. But maybe.
it's possible
and
that
that's
they have
possible, too.
information.
Yeah.
And that's why now he's obviously developed feelings for her because Chloe Bennett's incredibly hot and has great
Yes.
hair every time.
Yes.
But,
look
so-
terrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
I look so terrible after. Come on. Yeah. But so it's just, I wonder if that's not part of his reason of kind of almost taking her on.
Mm-hmm. Because she's the 084.
Yeah.
Well,
But
go
then
ahead.
Oh
develop
no,
feelings.
I was actually just gonna point out what you were pointing out as soon as we were done having the episode. It's very possible that he's not a Hydra agent, even because it, like you said, it's very possible that he is playing both sides right now, and that this is the only way to infiltrate what's left of Hydra.
Right.
And the other thing to keep in mind is just. This was something that happened throughout the entire organization, meaning that everybody who's still around, right, and it was only the carriers that got taken down at the end of Captain America, meaning that everybody who's still claiming to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent could very well not be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. They could just be like, oh yeah, like I was totally fighting Hydra people. Yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. Let's rebuild and make us better and stronger and hell Hydra.
It's true. So here are our possible scenarios, right? A, he's a Hydra agent, always was. B, he is a Hydra agent, but he's changed his mind and is now going to work undercover. C, he was never a Hydra agent, but he murdered Victoria Hand in order to infiltrate Hydra to learn more about them and report back to S.H.I.E.L.D.
I like C.
I like C too.
Yeah.
Or maybe she won't be dead. She'll go to Tahiti.
I mean, they do
I don't
have
know. They have that
do have
close-up
a
of her
cure-all.
blood and the hair, and I feel like she's pretty dead.
I
S.H.I.E.L.D.
think
members
she's
have
gone.
faked their deaths before. I hope that
Nick Fury just did it.
Yeah,
I
Nick
guess
Fury was
so.
really good at it.
So I want to talk about the biggest plot point coming out of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which is that they release all of the S.H.I.E.L.D. documents, all of their secrets, onto the internet. And in their eyes, it seemed in the movie, S.H.I.E.L.D. was dead, that there was no more S.H.I.E.L.D., which obviously is not the case on the show. That's been the big question that people have been asking us on Twitter. What are they going to do? It's not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. There is no S.H.I.E.L.D. There is still going to be a S.H.I.E.L.D., I believe, and I'm sure you all agree. but it's going to look very different. The structure is going to be different. All the old leadership is gone, and now they're more of a rogue organization, small and nimble, trying to, ferret out the evils of the world, potentially. What do you think about that? And do you think that now that all of the secrets are out on the web, what are we about to learn about Sky's past and Melinda's and Ward's?
Ooh.
Yikes.
Yeah, that was a really funny. It was just a really quick moment. It was just like, okay, now all the information that S.H.I.E.L.D. has is on the internet and it's trending. How about that? Like that has some huge implications down the road, because now wherever they go, anybody who knows who they are or can figure out who they are has access to their entire, to everything they've ever
To their
done.
dossiers,
Yeah.
to every single one of them. Their file, their personal files are all on the internet.
The successful ones, though, I don't hesitate to think that, oh my God, Black Widow. I was like, oh my God, what's her name? That, Agent Romanoff won't have, she even said at the end of the movie, she was like, I have to go find a new life now. That's kind of exciting for her. And she will. And she'll be okay. And Nick Fury will be okay. And I think all these guys, S.H.I.E.L.D. will come back. Otherwise, it's going to be like agents formerly known as S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Yeah.
The agents formerly known as S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah.
I
I'd
think
watch that show.
I would too. I agree with you. I think they're experienced enough to know what they have to do to protect themselves and to protect, the ones that they're close with. And whatever happens, I mean, they'll handle it.
And
somehow.
this is the chance, if they really,
Roya
our
hasn't
engineer,
seen
Rora.
Captain America.
There's a sad panda.
we are so sorry.
It's okay. I'm just zoning you guys out. But
Just,
I wanted to do the podcast regardless because I love you guys.
Thank
we
you,
are so
Roya.
sorry. Please have a cookie.
Have this half of this chocolate chip cookie. Come on.
No, wait, we
it's
have a
really
cupcake
good.
for you, though,
Yeah,
at the
There's a
end.
cupcake for
Consolation.
you. Birthday
The
gift.
frosting's falling off on two of them.
Yeah.
It's cool. Continue.
We can raffle off those cupcakes.
But this is their opportunity to reshape S.H.I.E.L.D. in any way that they want it. They can form S.H.I.E.L.D. in Coulson's own image.
I like that. He is a spot.
Just how you did that with your
Director.
arm, though, that made me nervous. Anybody who can't see Megan right now, her
I
arm's
was shaking
slowly
my
raised
fist.
up in the
And your
air.
eyes got so big.
Pretty
Yeah.
soon she's going to be like, Hail Coulson.
No, Hail
It'd
Coulson.
be Director Coulson.
Is it
Director Coulson?
Isn't Inglourious Bastards reference a good comparison?
Yeah.
So they could be the Inglourious Bastards of
Yeah, I'm down
the
with that.
Third
Killing
Reich.
Hydras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's bastards with an E, so it's
Bastards.
not a curse. Because that's how they spell it in the movie. One thing that really surprised me at the end of Winter Soldier was that Maria Hill didn't stay to run the remainder of S.H.I.E.L.D., that she quit and went to Stark Industries, because as we all know in the comics, Maria Hill succeeds Nick Fury as director of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is why when they killed him in the movie, which, first of all, we all knew wasn't going to stick, but
No.
for a moment, I'm like, wow, it's really amazing. They have the balls to kill Nick Fury this early in the cinematic lifespan of this universe and go with Maria Hill, and that's not what happened. I don't know. How do you guys feel about her being at Stark? I think that's going to play into the beginning of Avengers 2 when he's building Ultron, probably.
I don't know what her position at Stark is necessarily.
It's not specified in.
She's just
No,
in
it just
Winter
showed her
Soldier.
in the
Yeah.
human resources office.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It just seemed like it was a position that would underutilize her, and I wouldn't want to see her in that position if she could still be in S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever is left of S.H.I.E.L.D. and help with the reformation like we're talking
I just
about.
had a thought about that. Maybe she didn't officially leave S.H.I.E.L.D. Maybe it's, how we originally met Agent Romanoff, where she's keeping an eye on one of the Avengers. So if she's actually close to Tony Stark in case stuff goes down, which it will in the next Avengers movie, that she's already there kind of facilitating it.
It also could be that when Fury calls her in Winter Soldier, that's where she already was, and that when she comes to his aid and winds up rescuing Cap and Black Widow, that she was at Stark Industries in California and flew out to help.
But is she in HR then to like get
Just-
her
it's-
benefits better?
No,
Or
it's-
she's
it's
like,
just a
man, this
cover."
job is too hard.
It's a good
I
cover.
had to
She's
take a couple
hiding
personal days. I'm really sorry.
hiding in plain sight, people. Have you never heard of strategy?
Or need
I
more
think-
sick days.
I think it'd be really funny, actually, because Pepper Potts stepped down from being the head of Stark Industries in Iron Man 2. I think it'd be really funny if Maria Hill was running the show now. Because let's face it, Tony Stark
You mean
running
Iron
Stark.
Man 3?
Oh. Well, no, in Iron Man 2, Pepper stepped down from being the head of Stark Industries.
Okay.
So I think it'd be really funny if. We all know Tony Stark running Stark Industries isn't really his priority.
Nope.
Nope.
So I think it'd be really funny if she ended up running Stark Industries.
I don't think he'd give it to anyone from
He
S.H.I.E.L.D. though.
probably wouldn't, but I think it'd be really funny.
Right.
Speaking of funny, I loved her moments in the movie.
She was great.
She was so great, and she was placed so well in the scenes that she was in. I loved it.
Okay, I just really like what they did with her and with Black Widow. Like, they actually gave them something to do.
Yeah.
And they were relevant. They were important to the plot. I really liked that.
I really liked, the evolution of the, pardon me, of the Natasha Romanoff character is really interesting, and I love that they toy with the romance between the two of them, but they don't go for it.
Did anybody notice her necklace
Yes.
in the movie?
Yes.
The entire
arrow.
movie, she's
The arrow.
wearing an arrow necklace.
Hawkeye.
Yeah,
Oh, snap. Which
makes sense.
everyone's asking, why wasn't he in the movie? Why wasn't he in Winter Soldier? I'll tell you, he's probably on assignment somewhere far away. And that's
probably gonna come back.
That's the
That's it.
explanation.
We were joking that he's going to come back, with like I think it was like a joke going around the internet that he'd come back like with Starbucks coffee, and it would be like Troy in the worst case scenario on Community, and everything's just on fire, and you're just like, what happened?
In the worst timeline?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the darkest timeline.
I just want to wait to see his reaction when he finds out that Agent Romanoff kissed Captain America.
He's not going to be happy.
Wait,
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What does that Boy Scout have?
I just like that the girl that he was thinking about taking out from statistics was named Kristin. I was like, that's so cute.
You're like, me, it's me.
She's Agent 13, okay? She's Agent 13. She's professional, okay? That's why she's not going to mix business with pleasure.
Can I I've been actually saying this like ever since like the scene happened in Captain America. And sorry, Roya. I feel really bad talking about this. But when they show the AI that was this former Hydra agent who defected to S.H.I.E.L.D.
Armanzola.
Yeah,
That kind of made me laugh a little bit at first.
I thought
not
that
gonna
was
lie.
so awesome. I did not see that coming.
But yeah, when they show that his consciousness was put into this set of computers back in the 70s, and how he developed this algorithm, and how basically based on all the digital information from everybody, he could predict whether or not they were going to become a threat. I was sitting there in the theater going, he's the clairvoyant. This, this is how, obviously they said
they
it
were
was a
talking
S.H.I.E.L.D.
about that,
agent. Yeah, that it was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who had security clearance, but I was like, no, this is what makes perfect sense, because he has access to all the data that they're talking about, and he can predict who is quote-unquote a threat and what they're quote-unquote going to do. And so I'm sitting here going, because Agent Garrett being the clairvoyant, I like how roguish Agent Garrett is, and true, I
But
think
he
he's
doesn't
BA.
seem like a mastermind,
No.
maybe?
He's not a mastermind,
Yeah.
no. He doesn't seem to be the type to sit in the little swivel chair and form strategies and everything like that. He's a
I
shoot
don't
first, make a plan later,
With
make it up as you go along.
With his hairstyle and his outfit, I could see him stroking a cat in a swivel chair. That's no problem.
Maybe laughing maniacally, but I can't see him plotting anything.
I guess-
Can you?
I
I
guess
think
you're
they're
right.
just using the term more clairvoyant now, it seems. It's just somebody who knows so much in that age. So, in this group, since he does go towards Hydra, I think they're just calling that because they don't
I think
know
they
about...
just make him privy to the information that that this algorithm provides them. And it's
Yeah,
actually this
I agree with that.
algorithm that is the quote-unquote clairvoyant.
It's very... it's confusing when
But-
they call it a clairvoyant now, because if we're finding out it's AI and it's not an actual person.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep that
I just
up.
remember we had postulated that as a theory. And so when it happened in the movie, I was like, we were right. Like, we were right. And it makes so much sense. But then I had people telling me, no, Agent Hand's the clairvoyant. And I was like, but this is how they're doing it. This
Right.
is what's happening. And then I was like, nobody would believe me.
I'm sorry, Megan. That sounds really rough. It does, and I'm sorry. But here's the thing about this movie. What I loved most, and honestly, I'll say this right now, I think it's the best one they've made. I think it's easily the best movie that they've made, hands down. It's the best directed. The screenplay, the twists, most of them you see coming. It's not going to surprise you. If that's what you were going to the movie for, you may not have liked it as much. But in terms of just like sheer movie making, wow and delight, and dialing into who this character is and why we like him and what kind of movie it can be, making this almost like Bourne-esque, intelligent action thriller
Yeah.
steeped in politics.
I was gonna say that too.
Yeah.
I was talking to a couple of my friends about it today, and one of them said that it wasn't just a superhero movie; it was also an espionage movie. And I was like, "That's so true. That's exactly what it was." And I also liked how IGN called it the Terminator of superhero movies.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I was like, "That's so."
Well, he is
true.
fighting the Terminator, basically.
Yeah.
So Bucky will be back.
Yeah.
I hope
Indeed.
so. Speaking of Bucky, no win.
My girlfriend has the biggest crush
Sebastian
on
Stan.
Sebastian Stan.
I had to do a segment. I had to look up like stuff on him like today at work.
You had
Very
to?
cute.
Yeah,
Or you
it'll-
wanted
if you're
to?
watching E! News tomorrow, it'll be on there.
I just loved how I imagine that when you all saw it, the theater was absolutely packed. Am I correct?
No.
For me, it
Really?
was.
It was not. I saw it Saturday afternoon at
Oh.
the Dome in Hollywood in IMAX 3D, and there were maybe 100 people there.
That's about my theater was maybe about half full, and it was Friday at 7:15.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I went on
I was
Friday
a little
night.
surprised.
I was at the AMC down at City Walk, and the theater was absolutely packed.
It's always
I
packed
wanted
in
that.
Mine was
Burbank.
packed too.
Well, no, this
Century
was City
City.
Walk. This was
I
City
know.
Walk.
Never mind.
But
I
anyway,
wanted the
so
packed theater.
when they do the reveal of who the Winter Soldier actually is, for people who are familiar with the comics, you know who it is. For people who bothered to take 2 seconds to Google Winter
Right.
Soldier, they know who it is. But I was surprised at how many people didn't know. And the actual reaction when they did the reveal was absolutely fantastic. It was a combination of, like, oh my God,
Wow.
it's him. And, oh, he got hot.
Yeah.
It was literally like, oh.
Oh. Okay. Any other quick thoughts on the movie, or should we go into straight predictions for the show?
For me, I thought it was just plain. It was just so entertaining. And I was reading about the movie, and, it was stated that they wanted to keep the fight scenes as authentic as possible. They wanted to use as little CG as possible. So all the
And-
actors did a lot of their fight scenes, and Anthony Mackie almost died doing one of his
Oh
stunts.
my
He
God,
was
what
awesome.
happened?
Him as Falcon was just
Oh,
amazing.
he was
He was
wonderful.
great as Falcon.
good.
So charming.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't remember exactly the which stunt almost got him killed, but he said it on, I believe it was Arsenio Hall show.
Okay.
So he was on there talking about it, and he was so excited, and yeah, he almost died.
Damn.
It's terrible.
That's so
But
crazy.
it-
And then after that, they had his double, come in for him. He's like, never mind, I
Maybe
don't
you
want to
sit
die.
this one out.
Yeah.
But it all paid off because the way the action is shot, it's just very physical. It's very brutal. I loved all the fight scenes.
Yeah.
It was just very well directed, very well choreographed, and the CG and the live action are very well integrated. Very
They
impressive.
really
movie.
are.
Somebody else who I was really excited that joined the cast, and I want to talk about this a little bit also in relation, because I know I brought up as we were watching it, was Robert Redford. Was
Yes,
just
Alexander Pierce.
Who I love Robert Redford. I was telling you guys too, there was like a little Easter egg where he had like Newman's Own, like the sauce like in the refrigerator, and because him and Paul Newman had a bunch of movies, they were buddies and all that. But I loved his character, even though he was bad. But do we think the line that was to Fury? I know I said this when we were watching it, when he said Director Fury is dead, and I feel like he's the only other person who maybe could have been on that line, been on the other end of that line, and I was trying to listen really hard.
It wasn't his voice.
But
it might have meant to be the character.
Like a person almost kind of trying to be that character. I don't know. I thought maybe that could have been him on the other end, just because he would be one of the few people I think who would have access to that.
I guess it depends on how deep into the Hydra takeover we were. I don't think that she called. This whole episode took place over a matter of hours, so it couldn't have been the day that he died, or the day that he died.
Well, because he died a little bit before the Hydra was officially
like
came out.
A day or two before.
Yeah, right before it happened, he quote unquote died. Yeah.
Well, no, it was like 2 days before. 2 days before the actual like Hydra takeover.
I know, but I mean, it started at Triskelion, right? That's where it kind of started to go out. So it would almost make sense then, because the hub would be a little bit later. So that means Fury has already been dead and people know about it, but they're a little bit behind. They're on their own thing. So that's what I was figuring. It's like, it's not that much later, but it's enough where it makes sense why they were telling people now that Fury is dead and Hydra, because they found out about Hydra like 2 seconds later, and they didn't find that out until a little bit. I don't know. I wonder if it's just me. If you guys think it was true too,
let us know in the comments down below.
I also want to know if you guys think that Maria Hill knew that they were going to bring Fury back.
Well, yeah, she was the one taking care of him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I think it's time we do predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, folks. We got S.H.I.E.L.D. in shambles. We got Ward on the wrong side of the tracks. We got a lot of distrust. Where are the chips falling? What are we thinking is happening next week?
I still think something's going on with Skye being an 084 and Ward being somehow connected to them as a relationship. And
I think if he is, he's going to continue down the path of Hydra, and he is going to, keep a close watch on Skye, that he's probably going to brainwash her to, like, make her a little more compliant with him, like, trying to...
Like, I'm doing this to protect you.
Yeah,
I think they're going to have sex, too, at some point. I'm just throwing that out
That's
there.
a very solid prediction.
That's fair.
I would like to think that now that all the S.H.I.E.L.D. files are on the internet, we get a big Skye reveal next week, or at least in the next 2. I think that she would be very much aware of that and would be looking into it. That's my pick, and I still think that Ward is innocent.
I think that we're going to see the return of some old friends, like Dr. Hall. And was it Donnie that had the ice powers? That was his name? Yeah. Okay, yeah. It's been a while. It's been a bit.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see the return of a lot of things that were set up early on in the season. And all of that's going to come full
Patton
circle.
Oswalt.
He's not an old friend, but he's a new friend.
He's a new friend, and he's wonderful.
All right. Joyce, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at JAJOURI, on Instagram at IRUOJA, and I was on the Sunday Shameless podcast, but that is no more.
Kristin.
You can find me on Twitter, Kristin Carole 13, and now Megan and I are both on the Turn AfterBuzz on Sundays.
Yep, on Sunday nights. My name is Megan. You can find me on Twitter at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. And yes, I'm on Turn on Sundays.
All right, and you can find me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman, MattLieberman. You can also find me on YouTube at my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Matthew D. Lieberman, where you can find all of my AfterBuzz TV videos, source-fed videos, and sketches. New shows coming out in April: Orphan Black, Mad Men, Playing House. More in the spring. Lots more to come. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Good night. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.